I thought for a Bank Holiday Monday special I would interview my mum. Well, actually, my mum thought I could interview her and I kind of agreed. For those of us who don't know loads about motivational interviewing, I'm hoping to gather more information. For those of you who've received the training, I hope it'll be a refresher and maybe something new sprinkled in. Hi Mum, so I've heard you bang on all my life about motivational interviewing. What is it?
Okay, well, thanks Andrew. Well, I think motivational interviewing is a way of having a good chat with someone, usually around change. And it isn't just about what you say in that chat. In fact, it's more about how you listen and show that you're listening. And really, even more than that, it's actually about what you believe.
Okay, so what do you believe?
Well, it sounds really silly, but I believe in people, and obviously people exist. But I don't think that anyone is better than anyone else. A wise man once said to me, everyone is doing the best with the hand that they've got. And I really believe this. I don't think anyone wakes up in the morning and thinks to themselves, I'd love to be a heroin user, or I hope I can really screw my kids up. They just don't. People don't think like that. We have different genes, as in genetics. We have different attachments, we have different upbringings, we're all unique. And we're all doing the best we can do with the struggles we have. And I think we all want to be heard. We all want our kind of truth to be held. We all want to connect. And I think it's essential that we believe in people, that we tune in and really try to zone into someone else's world. For me, that's first, belief. I have to believe in my clients. And if I don't, then I need to do something about that. I cannot expect any skills to be effective if I don't first believe and accept. So that's first.
Okay, so you believe first, and then what?
Well, it's not just believing in them, it's more than that. You know, I also believe that we're all our own best experts, which means that, you see, I think people have their own answers or solutions. I think they have their own motivation, hence the title. And that's why I think my job is to facilitate that motivation. Like, often when I'm training, people in the introduction round will say, I'll ask them what they want to get from the training, and they'll say, well, I'll tell you now, I've tried everything to make the families I work with change. I'm working with this one person, I've really tried to make them change, I've tried everything, and they still don't. And one of the things I like about this approach is my aim isn't to do all the work. I'm not there to make people change. And that just doesn't work. I don't go out and fix people. In this approach, you're drawing out. You're not doing to. So when I'm working with clients, I aim to draw out their motivation. I'm not there to be the motivator. I'm not Mr. or Mrs. Motivator. That's not how it works. I'm there to draw out their motivation.
But what if they don't want to?
Well, yeah, that's often the case. So often when we work with people, maybe they don't have that much awareness or insight. Maybe the motivation just isn't there for them at that time. And I think we've all got choices. And for some of us, those choices are easier than for others. Some people have horrific environments, no support, mental and physical health problems, toxic relationships, people have, I always think some people have a really bad backdrop compared to others, and then choice is more difficult to see. So I think when I'm working with people, my role is 1, I've got to believe in them. 2, I need to accept them just as they are right now. And 3, I really want to draw them out, value them, and I want to draw out their choices in spite of their struggles.
So you just sort of sit there and believe and draw out?
Yeah, it sounds really easy, I know. And in some ways it is. Part of what makes motivational interviewing difficult is all the other things that we might want to do. There's a whole load of things that get in the way of really good listening. So let me go through a few of these things, because this is what makes it difficult, is avoiding these things. So number one, distraction. We get distracted in 3 ways. We get distracted by the environment. You know, as you're doing this interview, I'm hoping that the phone doesn't ring or somebody doesn't shout in. We get distracted by our bodies. You know, sometimes we might need a cup of tea, sometimes we need a wee, sometimes we don't feel very well. And we get distracted by our minds. You know, it says in the motivation interviewing book, we need to be listening to clients with an uncluttered mind. It doesn't say where you can buy one. My head's full of clutter. Most of us have got loads of different thoughts going on all the time. If we're really going to listen to people, we have to put those distractions aside. And I think that's really challenging. We also can identify with people. So people will be talking to us and suddenly we think, oh, me too. You know, Sybil Fawlty was really famous for saying, oh, I know. And sometimes there's a temptation when we're listening to people to join in. So yeah, I've gone through that as well. That really gets in the way of being in someone else's world. Then we've taken it to us. One of the biggest traps we fall into is we really think we've got the answers. And you know, the more expertise we become in a particular area, we do have answers. And so what we jump to then is fixing people. We've got the solutions, we've got the advice, and we want to jump in. And sometimes people just really need to be heard first before they look at solution. There's a time to give solution, but I really think we need to draw people's solutions out first. There's loads of other traps. Sometimes we really get into analysing people. We kind of live in a world at the moment where we really want to put people into different categories. I think that's really unhelpful. Sometimes we have an emotional response. Sometimes we can feel really sad, so we can sympathise with people. There's a really good video by Brené Brown around the difference between empathy and sympathy. And sympathy has this kind of at least. It kind of means that you kind of put yourself on a higher level. It's really different to empathy. Another emotional response we might have sometimes is we can feel really frustrated. People can get on our nerves, and we have to be honest about that and notice that. And if somebody's getting on my nerves, then I need to do something about that. There's a whole list of these things. I mean, you can start to write people off. You can start to be cynical. You fall into that trap, you need to do something about that straight away. If I'm writing people off, then I'm in the wrong room. Sometimes when we listen to people, I mean, one of the biggest ones is we judge. And lots of people say we don't judge. We do judge. We have to watch what we do with that judgment. We need to shelve any judgment when we're really tuning into people. But one of the things we do when we haven't got a lot of time is we're really quick to be preparing what we're going to say. So let's say you're filling in an assessment. You've got a questionnaire and you're asking question number 1. As somebody is answering, you're able to write it down, but you're preparing to say question number 2. It's kind of like recording, but not really listening. So for me, you're right. It is sitting there believing. It is sitting there drawing out. And whilst that sounds really straightforward, what actually makes that difficult is trying not to do these things. Some of these things have got their place, but if we're really trying to listen, we really want to try and avoid these traps or these blocks to really good listening.
So, of those things, you're saying you can't do any of those?
Well, I don't think you can. I mean, not if you're going to really listen. Part of really good listening is avoiding all the blocks and traps that are very easy to fall into. And the other reason it's hard is because it takes a lot of focus and concentration. So I think you need to step aside from all of those kind of traps so that you can really tune in. But what you have to realise is that isn't easy, because it really does take a lot of focus and concentration, and truly being in someone else's space, really holding it and hearing them is pretty exhausting.
So that's probably why you always want a cup of tea when you come home from school counselling.
That's exactly it. But you know what, Andrew, while it's draining, you'll have always heard me say it's the best job. You know, I I love it. I've never grown tired of the privilege of being allowed into another person's world. There's nothing like that. And I love training in it. It's a privilege to see practitioners fine-tune their communication skills. You know, motivation interviewing training gives people space to reflect on their current practice and improve it. And there's often really challenging debate, particularly around the idea of believing everyone. And it can be uncomfortable for people to realise that, well, maybe they haven't been listening to clients as well as they thought, because we all fall into habits. The training allows people to improve their skills.
You're often on a real buzz after the training you do. How come?
Well, I mean, I'm hoping some people who I've trained are going to be listening to this, and the fact is I work with really great people, you know, and Devon, Cornwall, South Wales, you know, the clients I work with are fantastic. The trainees I work with, they're brilliant, and they're taking risks. I think coming on training requires people to take risks. Loads of people at the start say, I don't want to do role play. And then in no time, they're role playing, they're doing skills practice. I really appreciate that. You know, we have lots of stories and lots of humour, so that's a real buzz. But I think it's important to appreciate people in training in the same way as I think about appreciating clients. And this is another key skill. So, you know, I'm not going to go into the whole approach in one interview, but you believe in people, you accept people, you see them as the expert, you draw them out, you listen to people, and then it's really important that you affirm. We need to affirm people's qualities, their values, their engaging, their way of being, and we need to do this when we're training, and we need to do this when we're working with clients. You know, at the moment I'm counselling lots of people during this lockdown time, and I'd say affirmation is the skill that I'm probably using the most. I'm hearing a lot of young people who are crocheting, they're embroidering, they're knitting, they're painting, they're doing also, they're baking, they're taking up kind of tennis, they're doing all sorts of things in their gardens and in their houses to help ease the boredom of lockdown. And each time I'm just full of praise for that, because I think it's very easy to slip into some really low mood during this really difficult time. And so whenever I hear somebody doing something really positive, I really try and affirm that. I think it's a really crucial skill.
Okay, so I've learned quite a bit about it, but my last question is, does it work?
Well, lots of people ask me that question. Lots of people ask me that question on training. I've been using the motivation interviewing approach for over 25 years, and I've worked with all ages. I've worked with loads of different issues. I've seen many people make both small and big changes in their lives. But I'll tell you this now, it's not a cure. It's not a magic wand. But you know, something I really feel is that it can't hurt if you accept people, you listen to them, like really listen to them, you affirm them, you tune in, you draw them out. That's valuing. It's empowering. It's a supportive experience for people. So no, maybe people don't always change. Maybe not. They're not in that right place. Maybe they're not ready. But I think all of us want to feel valued, and I think all of us want to feel connected. So if I can sit in a room with someone and I can believe them, accept them, value them, listen to them, believe they're the expert, draw them out, tune into them, I don't think that's going to hurt. And I think just that, there's loads of other skills in this approach, and we're not going to go into all of those. It's a 3-day training course, but just that in itself, I think it can help people feel better about themselves. There's a lot of people out there who really don't feel grounded and who really don't feel good about themselves. And I think just the things I've talked about already can improve people's... The jargon is self-efficacy. And that just means after having some motivation interviewing, I think people walk away feeling, do you know what? I'm worth something and I can do something about the situation I'm in. I mean, that's the best job in the world, Andrew.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mum.
Okay, well, thank you for asking me these questions and doing something different for this bank holiday blog. Thanks for listening to me, Andrew, and I'm hoping this is helpful for people tuning in.